You are a good thing. Stop letting people, TV, men, etc. define you. God gave you the victory over everything the devil was trying to get you to think about. I learned that God goes above and beyond, and we cannot even try to guess the plans that He has for us, that we are not the author of our story. God is. Because faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the convictions of things not seen. And if you're waiting to be able to see the end result before you make a move, you're not moving on faith. The purpose is not a position or a job or a title. Purpose is a posture. God is going to take you on a journey, and it's not going to make sense now. Baby, when that thing clicks, you're going to see that it was all a part of the process. Be you, shine bright, and stay holy. And if that's not possible, then baby, take that up with God. Hey, holy people, and welcome back to another episode of the Thoughts and Testimonies podcast. Here we are. This week has been weeking. Work life has been extremely busy. We are in our peak season. And so I'm just grateful that God made time in my schedule to record this podcast. So don't judge me for the people on YouTube looking at me because my hair is wet and I look like a wet dog. And that's because it is 5 o'clock in the morning. And I needed to get up and record this before heading into work because I just knew that by the time I get home, I'm only good for one thing. Okay. So here we are. But last week we talked about, for this month of September, the intentional conversations I've been having with God about wanting to get to know Him deeper. Like, I know that you're God, and I know that I heard these things about you, and I know that I believe these things about you, but I want to experience, these things about you. So last week I talked about just coming to understand God as El Shaddai. God as El Shaddai being God Almighty, right? And I'm still praying on these student loans. Okay. I think it's getting a little cheaper, but it's not getting free and forgiven. That's what I'm praying for. But I know that I can rest easy knowing that El Shaddai is on the case, and that's how I want it to be, right? That there's no overturning that He's going to make it happen, whether that's increasing the finances or forgiving them, period. It's all going to work out how it needs to be. But this week, I want to continue exploring God deeper. And I want to explore Him deeper as it relates to us being in a relationship with Him. So not for the things that He can do for us, not for the miracles that He can perform, not for the things He produces, right? I want to get to know Him in regards to us being in a relationship. And it's one thing to know that He's there, but it's another thing to know that you know that you know that you know that He's there, because you've felt it and you've experienced it, right? So I do got a little testimony to tell this week, one that now I can look back on and laugh, but honey, let me tell you, it was not funny at the time, okay? So before I get started, what does your AC and JC, being Jesus Christ, have in common? And yes, that's right. I mean, your air conditioning unit, your AC and JC, Jesus Christ, have in common. Well, I've learned that they both save lives when the heat turns up, but that they both can shift the environment, right? And so this week, I want to talk about our ever-present God. And, growing up in the church, we've heard, that God is omnipotent, that God is omniscient, that God is omnipresent. We've heard that before. And I believe that, right? God is all powerful. God is all knowing. God is ever present. And so I was talking with God in my prayer time about this and about what does that look like? What does that feel like? Because my brain, my finite brain literally cannot understand that you're in every single place at the same time. Like you're in space, you're in the world, you're even above space, right? So I was, taking these things up with God. Not that it's a lack of faith, I fully believe it, but it's just, just like I want to know that I know that I know because I feel it. And my memory got recalled back to a time this summer. I'm having flashbacks already. So y'all know I live in Arizona. Arizona is extremely hot. We consistently have 115, 116, 118, 19 degree weather. And so it is very important that we feel cool, that we feel, refreshed, that we, have a cool place to go. And because people die out here, people literally die of heat stroke, people die of dehydration, and all the things could happen. Your mind could go wrong, when your body's overheating. And so it's very important to have AC, okay? I don't care how much that bill is, you better keep my AC on, okay? And so this summer, though, our AC went out, and it was not cute. It was not cute at all. But one of the things about your AC going out is like you don't realize it right away. Okay, so our AC went out. I want to say it was I think it was a Friday. I think it was like a Friday night. And Jalen and I both had to work. We were working late, and we got up, and it was like, it's a little hotter than normal, but sometimes that happens. Sometimes we just kick the covers off, or, you turn the fan on, until we didn't think anything of it. Both went to work, came back. I was the first one to come, I think, in the house. And I was like, oh no, something is not right, right? And you look at the thermostat, and the thermostat says it's like 80 something degrees when I know I have it set on 70 something. And so immediately you just know something is wrong, and it's going to be a long weekend. So very quickly, though, after realizing that the AC was out, as we started to brainstorm, what do we do? How do we solve it? We realized this was above our head, and that it indeed was going to take us getting somebody out here. And so we have a home warranty. And we put in the request to get somebody to come in, but of course it was the weekend. And so even though our home warranty said that people can come on the weekends, these people did not show up until Monday morning. So it was a very long weekend. But I underestimated how hot it can get when the AC goes off. Now, mind you, we have a 3-story home. And so, heat rises. And so it just felt like literally like I was living in hell. I can't. And if there's one thing about me, I cannot stand weird smells, and I cannot stand being hot. And I was extremely hot. But to further just kind of explain how hot I got, as we're walking up the stairs and you put your hands on the walls are scorching hot. Like, of course, you not coming down clothed and dignified in your hoodies and your sweatshirt, honey. You bearing all because it's hot. And so when you are going down and you accidentally touch the wall and you were like, oh, that's hot. Like, that's how hot it got here. Not only that, but because the walls were hot, the pipes in the walls were hot as well, which meant that the water was hot. So gone are the days of me thinking, oh, we'll be able to get through this weekend real quick because we'll just take some cold showers. That water was scorching hot, hotter than when I wanted the water to be hot. And so it was rough. It was rough. We had to wait all weekend for everything to get service. And to put it lightly, the heat turned up in our house, very much so. Not only, physically with the temperature of, the atmosphere in the room, we're sweating, trying to get some ice, trying to down some water to stay hydrated, but also, I mean, relationally as well. Like, whew, I thought this was going to be cute on the same page, right? I was like, oh, bad. AC went out, hotel me for the weekend, because why am I staying in a hot house? And my husband, Mr. Krabs, y'all already know we talked about it. But it's like, that's a short-term fix. Like, we need to work on a long-term fix. So he was not in agreement of going to a hotel this summer. And so we stayed in the house trying to fix something quickly. And that was a whole debate. And, you're hot and you're just like, this is just too much. My temper is, even on a shorter fuse because I can't think straight. And it was just, here we are. So herein lies our search over this long weekend to try to figure out what is the remedy. We knew it was going to be a quick remedy, but we needed the right tools. And this is where, in my reflection of this summer, thinking about all the things we went through just to come up with a quick fix, is where God really focused my attention to think through the lens of how he is and how we are relationally with him. And so initially, right, I wanted to go to the hotel. I just want to leave this place. Okay. I want to go. I don't want to be here. The problem still exists, right? The problem very much still exists at home. I'm just not there. I'm kind of isolating myself from the situation. Now, I feel like any rational person would do that, right? But from the lens of God, right? Sometimes when we're in our mess of stuff, when the heat turns up in our lives, we don't have the privilege to be able to say, I want to leave this body. I want to leave, my soul. I want to, I want you to exchange me out with a different, we don't have that privilege. So a lot of the times when issues arise or problems arise in our body, or we're facing things, we have to face them head on. We're not going to be able to, just say, oh, I'm checking out for the weekend. Somebody will work on it and I'm coming back. Right. And so, even though I was frustrated in the moment that we were staying in this hot mess, when I tried to put on my spiritual lens, and that was real hard because it was real hard to see why we stayed in this house this weekend. But when I put those lens on, I saw that, there are some benefits, and you're not always going to have that solution to be able to leave something. There are going to be some situations you have to stay, you have to tough it out, and you have to work on it. And so I think that was symbolic of this moment. Again, do I agree? No, absolutely not. I should have been posted up on somebody's hotel bed, relaxing in their AC, because they keep theirs at 50 degrees. But looking back, I can see why in certain situations when the heat turns up, that God is asking us to stay where we're at and work through it. Right? So, when we weren't able to, when we realized we were staying in the house, and as Jalen was coming on his way back from home, he stopped by the store. He was like, I'm going to pick up some fans real quick. At this point, it's not extremely hot, but you're like, ooh, it's getting uncomfortable. And so he picked up these cheap little fans, very cheap fans. And one of them was a fan that went in the window, but it wasn't like an AC unit. It was just like a blowing hot air kind of thing. And of all the fans that we've had in one central space, I mean, we had 5 or 6 fans. All they did was blow air. All they did was blow the air. They didn't change the temperature of the room. They didn't make it cooler. They just kind of stirred up what was already there. And it really made it even hotter, right? Because when we put the fan in the window, that fan was blowing hot air from outside. So it made it even hotter. Even though it's a fan, you think it would cool you off. That's not its job. That was the wrong tool for the job. So then by this time it's nighttime. We're like, oh, it's going to cool down. Let's just get some ice cubes. Let's freeze some towels. Let's sleep on that. We'll be okay, right? Not it. Because it was so hot that everything was thawing, everything was getting wet. It was just not it. Okay. So by this time, we've 24 hours in this thing. Something got to give. And so here it is, Sunday morning. I was so excited. I was like, ooh, I'm going to be able to go to church. Church got some good AC. Ooh, I cannot wait. And we were like, nah, we need to figure this out, because there's no way when we come back from church, we're going to be able to figure everything out that we need, because clearly these people are not coming until Monday, Tuesday. So, Jalen was like, you know what? I think what we need is a window AC. I think we need to get one of those window ACs. Now, granted, they are not cheap. So I was surprised Mr. Krabs was saying this. They're not cheap. But we did go and get a window AC unit that goes into the window for downstairs in our smallest room downstairs. So that took a while, but it did make it significantly cooler downstairs. So we went from the house being over 100 degrees, literally over 100 degrees, to finally getting it down to 67 degrees, where we can kind of stay in this space until Monday, Tuesday, when these people were going to be able to come. And so I started to think about, what was it in our search to cool things down? What was it about that window AC unit, right? Because the fan just blew the hot air. The AC, though, has different components to it that can flip and turn and change the environment, right? Long story short, though, we ended up getting it fixed. Very thankful. It wasn't a super expensive fix. Everything was under warranty. We just had to endure the hottest weekend of my entire life, okay? And if that's what hell feels like, y'all better get your act together. Because I ain't going there. I'm going to heaven, okay? Something that happened, though, during this whole weekend, and I think it was on Sunday, actually. So we had a prayer call that we had to do. So each month, a ministry at our church hosts a live prayer call, and as young adults, we record ours earlier because we work and so we can't take off. And so that was the day we were supposed to record. And so here I am, hot, sweaty, house is hot, everything is hot. Like, I look a mess, my hair I just look rough. And I was not feeling like it. I did not feel like praying. I did not feel like even showing my face. This isn't one of those things that you could turn off your microphone and turn off your camera. Like, you're the one doing a prayer call for the entire church that has thousands of members. And so thankfully, that's when the portable AC unit was installed, and it wasn't cool yet, but it was on its way. And so that was a moment where I felt like God was like, are you going to serve me in the midst of your mess? Like, are you going to put away the stuff happening with you and how you feel about the situation and pray to me? Are you going to come to me? Are you still going to praise my name and glorify me even though your situation looks a hot mess? And that's a word all by itself. So that's my story about our AC going out, right? And all the things we did to try to cool down. And so when I was asking God, how does this have anything to do with what I'm asking you to reveal yourself on a relational level to me? How does this reveal that you're, an ever present, all knowing, all powerful God? And he told me to just think about the temperature of the room in itself, right? Like, how often every single day do you think about your AC running in the background? And for a lot of us, we have it on automatic. So it turns off and turns on to change the temperature of the room whenever we need it. We don't have to think twice about that. And you don't think twice about it until something's wrong or something happens. And God was telling me, like, that's what it means to be everywhere at all times. Like, you don't have to worry about, turning me on or charging me up like you do your phone at night. You don't have to worry about, setting a timer for when I'm going to respond to you. You don't have to worry about sending me a calendar invite. I'm already there. I'm working in the background, even when you don't see it, even when you don't feel it, even when it doesn't look like it. And so God is an ever-present God. That's what it means when we say he's omnipresent. He's everywhere. He is like an air conditioner. But the thing though that got me was not only is he an ever-present God, not only is he in the background. A lot of the times as human beings, we think things in the background are insignificant, right? We're like, oh, they're backstage. They're not the one on the front stage. Or, they're not as talented, so their name isn't in the spotlight. But when you think about the fact that you're breathing and you don't have to think twice about it, that's an integral part of your body. That's something that happens in the background, but it's life or death, right? When I'm living in Arizona, my AC running in the background is a very integral part of me having a nice living. Okay. It is very important. It's life or death. And in this situation, it was life or death. And so even though he's in the background, he is very much still an integral part. I also realized that when it's missing, right? Here's the relational piece. When it's missing, when you don't have that integral piece that's running all the time, whether that's your AC, whether that's your breathing, when you don't have that, your life turns upside down real quick. So while God is an ever-present God, it's important that we're in relationship with him at all times. Because the moment that you're not, that's when things go awry. That's when you start to get into stuff. That's when the heat starts to turn up. That's when you just start, honey, walking a very wide road to hell. And it's central, right? A lot of times AC is a central unit. It's central in that it affects everything in your life. I didn't think about how much the AC going out would change not only the temperature of the room, but change the temperature of these walls, would now affect the water, would affect everything else happening. There were lotions and candles that fully melted. I didn't even think about that. I couldn't even use my phone in my house because it said my phone was so hot. Like, you don't realize how much that background thing was keeping everything else going and how quickly it could shift the environment. And so that's just like our God, that he is an ever-present God. And that's what it means. So when I asked God revealed to me what this means, it was like, well, think about your AC. Think about how you're breathing. That's what it means to be on at all times. And I'm thankful for that. Oh, I'm so thankful for that. But then he also challenged me to think about all the remedies that I tried to go through instead of focusing on the AC unit itself, right? And so my first lady, I first heard this analogy from her, and I'm so thankful because it's stuck in my head at all times. So when we think about a thermostat, right, a thermostat which kind of controls the temperature of the room, and we think about a thermometer, two very separate tools do very different things. So a thermometer, if you put it in the room, it's only good for taking the temperature, right? So it's only good for telling me, Maya, you know what, your AC did go out. It's 100 degrees in this house. But it doesn't have the power to change that. It doesn't have the power to do anything else. It can't shift the environment. It just simply tells you what's happening. A thermostat, though, which reports to the AC unit, a thermostat will not only tell you the temperature in the room, but it has a switch. It's conditioned to shift the atmosphere, to shift the environment, to say, you know what, we need to cool this down or we need to heat this up. So when we're thinking about the tools, when life gets thrown at us, when stuff gets hot, when things get out of whack, when our environments are shifting, when our environments are off center, You want to make sure you have the right tool in your corner. You don't want someone, a useless, powerless idol with no power, no control over anything. They're just thermostats, or they're just thermometers. They're just going to tell you, yeah, you messed up, or, oh, yeah, look real bad, but I can't do nothing about it. You want someone like God, an ever present, all knowing, all powerful God who's like a thermostat to say, you know what? Yeah, you did sin, but I got the power to change it. Let me go ahead and turn that on. And even want to think about our fans, right? There's some things that we think we're solving the problem, but we're really just blowing what all is there. We're just messing up. We're just fluffing up what's there, making it hotter. And so I'm thankful that I have the right tool in my life. I'm thankful that God is my God who does have all that together, that has the power to change things, flip it. And that's something about the design, that's something about the maker that we can't even understand it. But there's coolants, there's coils, there's suppressors, there's all these things that go into this unit that is able to make it shift and change the environment. And to think about, we have 3 stories. It's a pretty big house, that one little thing going wrong, one little you didn't pay attention to this, shifted the entire atmosphere. That's how God is. Something that we are like, oh, this is finna be an expensive, tough problem to fix. He's like, oh, I just need to change this real quick and shift the whole environment. So I also was thinking about how when all this went out and I still had to pray, like how God still expects you to show up when your life is a mess, when things are uncomfortable, when you can't see God or feel God. It's important that you still show up. And the reason I was able to do that prayer call with peace of mind is because I knew that God was working in the background, right? We had that AC, that window AC unit going. I couldn't feel it yet, but I knew in a little bit it was going to cool down. And so we have that peace of mind granted to us as children of God, as we are in tune with our God. And he's always there. To be an ever-present God means he's everywhere in the universe all at one time. He's here in Arizona and there in South Carolina too, right? He's there working on your mess, changing your environment, and working on my mess too. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for feeling that, for him recounting this moment for me to, in a very elementary way that I could understand, let me know, like, sis, I got you. And as long as you are here relationally with me, you're never going to feel like you're all alone. You're going to be able to show up no matter if it's hot, no matter if it's too cold, no matter if you're too tired, no matter if you're too stressed out, because you know that you serve a God who is all present, and you serve a God who is able to shift the environment, not just tell you, sis, I'm working on it, or sis, you need help, but to be able to say, I got the power, I have the tools, I am the right tool for the job to shift this environment. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to remind him of that. You don't have to remind him. He's always on. He's always in the background. And that is a miracle, because a lot of the times God's already fixed a problem. You didn't even know it was a problem. He fixed it before it became a problem. And when I started to think about that, that's when I started to really have a deep appreciation for God being an omnipresent God. Now, before I let you go, I want to read a psalm from David that, as I was reading it, prompted me, like, this is what it means to be omnipresent, right? And so in Psalm 139, verse 7 through 12, David is asking, where can I go to escape your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to heaven, you're there. If I make my bed in hell, you're there. If I live at the eastern horizon or settle at the western limits, even there your hand will lead me. Your right hand will hold on to me. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me and the light around me will be night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night shines like the day, and darkness and light are alike to you. Now, David in these few verses, he's talking about the omnipresent nature of God. There is nowhere you can go on this earth that God is not with you. And that's for the good and bad, right? That's a good reminder. That's a comforting, peaceful reminder that God, you're right here with me. But it's also a warning to us too, right? Like, God is with you. The Holy Spirit is with you, is living in your body, honey. When you go up there and you decide you want to get drunk on the weekend, guess what? You took the Holy Spirit there with you, right? When you decide you want to go to the strip club, you took the Holy Spirit with you. When you decide you wanted to go, gang bang or do whatever your testimony is, because that's your business, just know that God is right there with you. You're not hiding from him. There's no place you can go. He's right there with you. And so I just appreciate David for this, for breaking it down to us to know that no matter where we are, God is there. He's an ever-present God, and that's comforting to know. Well, that's what I got for us today. It was just a little quick testimony from this summer, something that as I'm trying to spend more time with God and understand him relationally and not just trust what people say, right? Like I said, growing up in the church, we hear that all the time. He's an omnipresent, he's an omnipotent, he's a, all power, all knowing, ever present God. We've heard that, but my challenge to God was, Lord, I need to know that I know that I know that. I need to know that for myself. And so take that step up with God, like challenge everything that you say, but challenge it with him. Take it up to him, because he's going to reveal it to you, and he's going to reveal it in a way you didn't think. I didn't think I was going to be talking about the air conditioner unit this week. I did not think that, but it was a perfect example for him to get me to understand what it means to be ever present. What it means to be that I'm always there working, even when you don't see me, feel me, or hear me, and that I have the power to shift the environment without anything you need to do, right? So I'm thankful that JC is my AC unit in the spiritual realm. And yeah, so I just hope and pray that you all are comforted by the fact that we do have an ever-present God, that he is everywhere at all times, and he is all-knowing, and he is all-powerful. And honey, when you upgrade your unit in your spiritual temple, in your spiritual house, to make JC the right tool for you, then I know you're going to be all right. You're going to be able to be you, shine bright, and stay holy. And if that ain't possible, then baby, take that up with God. Love y'all.